A pleasant day to all of you, especially to Ma'am April Joy de la Torre. We are the Group 5, and I hope you can lend your ears and time for our presentation. At this time, we will discuss about the contemporary foreign and economic policies of Saudi Arabia and Philippines. Let's talk about first the Saudi Arabia. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia lies at the farthermost part of southwestern Asia. It is bordered by the Arabia Gulf, United Arab Emirates, and Qatar in the east, and its capital city is Riyadh. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia occupies about 4/5 of the Arab Peninsula, with a total area of around 2 million square kilometers. Because of its large area, the kingdom has a diverse topography. Saudi Arabia's geography is diverse with forests, grasslands, mountain range, and deserts. Moving on to the real discussion, let's talk about the Saudi Arabia foreign policy. Foreign relations of Saudi Arabia refers to the diplomatic and trade relations between Saudi Arabia and other countries around the world. The foreign policy of Saudi Arabia is focused on cooperation with the oil-exporting Gulf states, the unity of the Arab world, Islamic solidarity, and support for the United Nations. The Saudi government believes that it has a responsibility to protect the Muslim holy sites of Mecca and Medina and promote the interests of the Muslim world. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has a number of key foreign policy objectives. These include maintaining strong relations with key allies such as the United States. The Saudi Arabian government understands that maintaining strong relations with key allies such as the United States is essential to the country's continued stability and prosperity. The Saudis have therefore worked hard to cultivate a close relationships with the U.S. Including through economic and military cooperation. This cooperation has been beneficial for both countries and has helped to keep the region stable, protecting the kingdom's borders and territorial integrity, and promoting regional stability. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is committed to protecting its borders and territorial integrity and promoting regional stability. The country has a strong military presence along its borders and works closely with its neighbors to ensure that any threats to regional stability are quickly dealt with. Saudi Arabia is also a key player in international efforts to combat terrorism and is working to improve security throughout the region.
And now let's talk about the economic policy in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia's economy is dominated by oil and related industries. When it comes to oil reserve, Saudi Arabia ranks for internationally with about the fifth of the world nose reserve. There are many different economic policy in Saudi Arabia that can impact business, individual, with the country. Some of this policy includes taxation. The Saudi Arabia government imposes taxes on about individuals in business with the country. The personal income tax rate is a flat 5% all taxpayers. Government spending. The government also monitors and evaluates the effectiveness of its spending on the economy and society. Inflation. The government does this by keeping a close watch on the country's money supply, making sure that it doesn't grow too rapidly. Interest rate. The Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority, SAMA, can also influence interest rates indirectly by changing the discount rate, which is the rate at which bank can borrow for SAMA. Trade. The Saudi Arabian government has recently been working on liberalize its trade policy in order to encourage more foreign investment and economic growth. Economy of Saudi Arabia, fueled by enormous revenues for oil export. The economy boomed during the 1970s and 80s. Unlike most developing countries, Saudi Arabia had an abundance of capital in fast development projects, sprung that turned once underdeveloped country in a modern state. During the time, unemployment was all about non-existent. Large numbers of foreign workers eh, were imported to do the most menial and the most highly technical tasks. And per capita income and gross domestic product (GDP) per capita were among the highest in the non-Western world.
We will proceed to discuss about Philippine foreign policy. Our commitment to a principled foreign policy serves as the bedrock of our foreign relations. By standing up for our values and principles, we send a strong message to the world that we are a nation to be reckoned with. This commitment has served us well in the past and will continue to do so in the future. Our foreign policy is about more than just managing our relations with other countries. It's also about promoting our values and interests around the world. That means working with our allies to advance our shared goals and standing up to our adversaries when they threaten our interests. Philippines foreign policy. The most important provisions of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, which pertain to the framing of Philippine foreign policy, are as follows. Article 2, Section 2. The Philippines renounces war as an instrument of national policy, adopts the generally accepted principles of international law as part of law, and adheres to the policy of peace, equality, justice. Article 2, Section 2. This means the Philippines will not start or participate in wars except in self-defense, and that it will uphold international law and treat all nations equally. The goal is to maintain peace and promote justice for all. Article 2, Section 7. The state shall pursue an independent foreign policy in its relations with the other states. The paramount consideration shall be national sovereignty, territorial integrity, national interest, and the right to self-determination. Article 2, Section 7. This means that the Philippines will pursue its own foreign policy, independent of other countries, and that its relations with other countries will be based on the principles of national sovereignty, territorial integrity, national interest, and self-determination. Republic Act No. 7157, otherwise known as Philippine Foreign Service Act of 1991, gives mandate to the Department of Foreign Affairs to implement the three pillars of the Philippine foreign policy as follows. Preservation and enhancement of national security, promotion and attainment of economic security, protection of the rights and promotion of the welfare and interests of Filipinos overseas. These pillars overlap and cannot be considered apart from each other. Together with the 8 foreign policy realities outlined by the President, they reinforce each other and must be addressed as one whole. The Philippine foreign policy. These 8 foreign policy realities are China, Japan, and the United States, and their relationship will be determining influence in the security situation and economic evolution of East Asia. Philippine foreign policy decisions have to be made in the context of ASEAN. The international Islamic community will continue to be important for the Philippines. The coming years will see the growing of importance of multilateral and interregional organizations to promote common interests. As an archipelagic state, the defense of the nation's sovereignty and the protection of its environment and natural resources can be carried out only to the extent it asserts rights over the maritime territory and gets others to respect those rights. The country's economic policy will continue to be friendly to both domestic and foreign direct investments. The Philippines can benefit most quickly from international tourism. Overseas Filipinos will continue to be recognized for their critical role in the country's economic and social stability.
And now let's talk about economic policy in the Philippines. Philippines economy is considered as one of the most dynamic economies in East Asia and the Pacific. The Philippines has traditionally had a private enterprises economy both in policy and in practice. The government intervened primarily through fiscal and monetary policy in the exercise of its regulatory authority. The economic policy in the Philippines are different types, namely, monetary policy is geared towards maintaining price stability, promoting orderly economic growth, and ensuring an adequate supply of money and credit. Fiscal policy, government influence aggregate demand by changing tax and spending levels. Supply-side policies, these policies include initiatives to improve infrastructure and increase investment as well as measures to promote entrepreneurship and support small and medium enterprises. Microeconomic policies, these policies include measures to promote entrepreneurship and small businesses, encourage foreign investment, and support the country's agricultural sector. Labor market policies. Government has put in place a minimum wage as well as policies aimed at improving working conditions and preventing child labor. Tariff trade policies. A government trade policy may be to pursue free trade agreements and tariff reduction, or the government may pursue some form of protectionism. In 2019, the Philippines was one of the fastest growing economies in the world. The rude awakening from the pandemic was that as services and remittances led growth model doesn't do too well in a global disease outbreak. The Philippine economic growth faltered in 2020, entering negative territory for the first time since 1999, and the country experienced one of the deepest contractions. The Philippine economic policy is expected to be supportive of growth and inflation rate of 5.2% in year 2018, and slowly in 2019 with a rate of 2.5%, respecting our central bank target of 2.5 inflation rate, should be decreased to 1.7% in 2020 and increased to 2.9 in 2021. The economic growth in the Philippines has been dampened by economic industries in the present issue, which is coronavirus disease, that the persistence of policies that have failed to stimulate to the most important role played by its Philippine politics and society.
The difference between Saudi Arabia and Philippines. The Philippines and Saudi Arabia have different approaches to foreign and economic policy. The Philippines is more focused on maintaining good relations with other countries, while Saudi Arabia is more focused on protecting its own interest. The Philippines has a more open economy than Saudi Arabia and is more reliant on trade with other countries. The Philippines is also a member of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which promotes economic cooperation between its member states. In contrast, while Saudi Arabia has a more closed economy and is less reliant on trade with other countries. Saudi Arabia is also a member of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, which promotes cooperation between the oil-producing countries. The Philippines is more democratic than Saudi Arabia and has a more liberal approach to social issues. The Philippines is also a member of the United Nations and is committed to upholding the UN's principles of peace and security. That's all. Thank you.